Hello, Lorcana and TCG enthusiasts, and welcome back to the fifth part of our mini-series where we are looking at each color from Rise of the Floodborn. That's right, we are on the fifth color, Sapphire, with only one more color to go, that being Steel. So without further ado, let's jump into the cards of Sapphire. First up, we have Alice. She has Supporter, and what did you do? What did I do? When this character has 10 or more power, she gains 4 lore. Again, we saw already with Pete and Pain and Panic that if they get up to so much power, they can gain lore. So again, we're kind of seeing this with Alice as well, where we want Alice to have so much power that she's up to 5 lore. And again, Sapphire is very, very good at giving us supporters, people who swing and then can give their power to someone else. We also have an item from the first set of Sapphire that could give one of our guys supporter. So in essence, it was very, very good. So you can definitely see a synergy of a little bit of a style of deck of buffing your guys up with supporters so that you can get to this high level of power so that you can then gain a lot of lore off of it. From Alice, Pete, and then I believe it is Panic. But anyways, not a bad card at all here. Started out, we have a Basil. We have 3 different Basils. We have a Shift 5 Basil. There's always a chance if you use Shift to play this character, draw 2 cards when he enters play. Very, very good. I mean, again, draw hand advantage, and drawing advantage is very, very important in this game, with typically the only way to draw cards is at the start of your turn. So this is very, very good. We have a supporter Basil, and then we have just a generic Basil. So in essence, you'd shift probably over this supporter Basil or this Basil, because again, even this Basil, questing for 2, you do buff up to 1 more lore at 3. Still, not bad. Overall, really, really good to have a draw engine just right there on drawing 2. So it'd be pretty cool if we could see some more Basils. And more stuff that actually kind of plays off this shift. Because a lot of times, some effects don't really trigger if the guy is shifted. Usually it just affects whether it played by the normal inking cost of 6 here or by the shift cost of 5. So it'd be really cool if we could see more cards really play off that shift mechanic. It really emphasized the nature of using the shift mechanic. We have the Caterpillar. I don't know why he needs to be a 3-cost, 3 lore guy, but again, like I said when we started this entire thing, this set has a lot of power creep in it, and I hope that we don't start seeing every set try to power creep the previous set, because I don't think that will lead to a healthy game state if every time we're just power creeping every set. I'm not exactly sure why they went the Rise of the Floodborn and immediately wanted to power creep so many cards into it and so many strategies into it. But you know, I guess Ravensburger has some plan. But nonetheless, it's a neat vanilla. I mean, it is a 1/3 body that quests for 3, so I mean, it's not very strong per se for will, but I mean, playing it out on your 3rd turn and then questing with it to claim 3 lore and outspeed your opponent is still very good. We have a couple of Cogsworth here. We have a Shift 3 Cogsworth with Ward. Again, Sapphire is very good at Ward. Again, we have the Aurora from set 1 that can give everything Ward. But he gives everything Resist. So Resist is a new keyword that we see also prevalent in the Steel cards as well. So Resist just means that the guy takes 1 less damage. So in essence, if you swung with, say, a 3 damage guy and your guy has like 2 will, then it actually is just going to take 2. Or maybe you have a guy that has 3 will, your opponent's going to swing in with a 3 power attacker. Well, now it only is going to take 2 damage because it's got a resist of 1. So again, these cogwords can even stack on each other, so then you can give even more plus resist. So there is a chance you could have like a resist 3, and then anything that's 3 power or less can't even do a damage. So all your opponent's going to have to do is get to those higher power cards. Again, this is also good against the Steel decks as well, because of the Steel decks, a lot of little damage chipping it likes to send out. This can stop a lot of that damage chipping, especially if you have a resist 2, then Swords pretty much just becomes minute because it can't even deal damage at all. And then we have 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐿 here. Your characters with Reckless gain can tap to gain 1 lore. So in essence, if your opponent didn't have a board presence where your Reckless guy's kind of just sitting there doing nothing, this 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐿 is not bad at all because it turns all your Reckless guys into lore gainers, which I don't think is bad. Again, the only way to really play this deck would be to play it in the Sapphire, in the Ruby engine, where all the Reckless guys really sit because of Ruby's nature to be so aggressive and board control-y. So I don't think that's bad because the aspect is that you could play this and just have them sit here. And then if your opponent's board happens to be cleaned up, then all you have to do is wait a turn, bring in some Reckless guys. If your opponent doesn't have any board state or anything like that, just tap them and just gain 1 lore off of them. So I don't think that's actually bad. We'll just have to kind of see if it does come up. I really think these Ruby deck that we'll still be seeing is Ruby Amethyst control. But Ruby Ramp using this card is not too bad either. We have a couple of Cruella de Vil's. We got Now Get Going. During your turn, this character gains evasive. So in essence, we've seen that before where they gain evasive on your turn. Robin Hood from set 1 did the exact same thing. That way you can deal with those board states that where your opponent's playing a bunch of evasive guys. That's pretty much it. And then we have a shift. This Cruella de Vil can shift for 3. Whenever this character requests, chosen opponent character gets a -2 to the turn. So not great, but we've seen plenty of cards that give negatives to power. Scar from the first set, the exact same thing. But I think these cards are just so kind of slow that I don't think they're really, really good. But nonetheless, they're still very neat to have. Especially for like, if you really wanted to play a deep control package. Again, like a Ruby Ramp deck could play these cards in there so that you can bring out all your Reckless guys like Maui's and all your rushers out onto the board and then just swing them in and not really worry about taking a lot of damage, especially if you start giving them all resist with this 𝐂𝐍𝐍𝐿, then you're really not taking a lot of damage. So just some thoughts there for like control strategies you can play. Duke Weaselton, he's basically just got some war. That's pretty much it. Gaston, so he can shift over 4 for any Gaston. Whenever you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put 1 in your hand, put the rest on bottom of your deck. So in essence, you scry the top 3, and then you can claim 1 card. So it's not bad. He does quest for 3, and again, this is a guy that plays on the field, whether he shifts or not shifts. I would say the shift, because you can get him 2 turns earlier than his natural cost of 6, but still not bad. This look at the top 3 cards. I still think it's kind of slow, but he does quest for 3, and he can go over any Gaston. So you could put him over the Reckless Gaston, and then in essence, if you never had to worry about the Reckless Gaston dying, you go Reckless Gaston and then shift to this Gaston, because again, it's over any Gaston, and we haven't heard anything about you can't shift a Ruby card into a Sapphire card. Again, the shifts just say over a named character named Gaston. So I don't think we even have a blue Gaston yet. And I think all the Gastons are Emerald and Ruby. So you'd have to go over that Gaston. So it's really neat that there really isn't like a color restriction in the game, because your ink is all like colorless and all characters use like a colorless system of ink. So in essence, these just state that once the guy is played on the board, as long as his name is Gaston, you can shift over him, which I think is a pretty cool mechanic that instead of turning like it into Magic the Gathering where you have to have that specific mana color to play this specific card, and you need the required mana color to play it, Dragon Ball Super does it as the same. It's just kind of generic. I think that leads it to a lot more playability for younger artists and new people to TCGs. So not bad in my opinion, but there are better cards. Like there's a 1-drop Develop Your Brain from set 1 is a little better. It lets you look at the top 2 cards and then add 1 to your hand. And it's cheaper at a 1-drop. Not mentioning that if you have to, you can also throw it in your Inkwell, but this can't be thrown in your Inkwell. And not mentioning that you'll have to either play Ruby or Emerald to really utilize the shift ability. Grand Pabby. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage from 1 or more characters, gain 2 lore. So this has to go into the Amber, because Amber has so many ways to heal, and if you play Amber Sapphire just heal, then you can be able to always do this. Again, this one, unlike Prince John, where I think I got the Prince John from Emerald wrong, where Prince John just lets you draw cards to how many cards your opponent pitches out. This doesn't actually care how much damage you do. You just gain straight 2 lore, and it's every time. So in essence, you can always be punching boards with your Amber guys, healing them, and then just gaining 2 lore, gaining 2 lore, gaining 2 lore. Now, it's really good also because this is Sapphire. Sapphire has the ability to quickly ramp up into 7 very easily. That this is very, very good. Not mentioning if you play this in the Amber engine, Lantern does reduce cost by 1. So in essence, remember, even though you have like 6 or 5 ink, with a Lantern on the board, you have exactly 6 ink. Just think of it like that. So anyways, we have Firm Flavorsham. I probably pronounced that wrong. When you play this character, and whenever he quests, you can banish one of your items and draw 2 cards. So what he is going to combo with is a item down here called Popsicle. In essence, Popsicle comes in, you'll get to draw a card. Then you bring him in while Popsicle's on the board, and then you basically, in essence, banish that Popsicle to draw 2 more cards. It is a infinite draw engine, because we will read what 𝐂𝐿 does, but this is it's a very, very strong draw engine. And there are other characters that can get items back to your hand through other means as well. So we have some cards that can bring items back to our hand from the first set as well. But nonetheless, just very, very strong. Sapphire's draw engine is just amazing with Popsicle and then Firm Flavorsham and 𝐂𝐿. It's got an amazing draw engine right now. It can go through its cards very, very fast. Now, I think the one problem it will meet is mill decks. Because mill decks still have the ability to mill out this a Sapphire deck that's running this engine, which most Sapphire decks will, because of the fact that you draw so much in this deck. So they just have to be a little more cautious with drawing. But anyways, we have a James. When this character is banished, you may put this character in your inkwell face down exerted. We've seen this all before. Grandma Tala has done it to us, and now we have James doing it for us as well. And he also quests for 2, so he's a little better than Grandma, because Grandma would only quest for 1, he quests for 2, and he's on a 3/3. So you could send him in to challenge something, knock it out, and then have him put to the inkwell, much like Grandma Tala did. A lot of people would quest a little bit with Grandma Tala before they would send Grandma Tala in to deal some damage and then kill her and then put her in exerted, and the next turn you'd have that extra ink already. So it's not bad. Really cool. Again, we're kind of seeing Sapphire's ability to kind of manipulate how exactly they get cards in their inkwell, which I think is very, very good. Again, Sapphire's whole standard is ramp. We have Jasmine. When you play this character, remove 1 damage from chosen character of yours. Again, another just remove damage. Good. Another card good if you're going to play like an Amber Sapphire like damage gain lore style deck. We got Judy Hopps, and I just want to say this: do these people? Does Ravensburger know what they did with that drawing? I don't know, but she's giving that sexy look right there. Well, I guess you could all put in the comments. Am I a furry? You can all be the judges of that. Whenever you play this character, you banish chosen item. Its player draws a card. So in essence, she banishes any item. So again, with items being so prevalent now in this game, as we've seen with so many good items now coming out, Flute, the Spellbook, Popsicle, even Ruby still utilizing like Fishbone Quill is still very strong for very Pacific ramping style decks. Sword of Virtue that can restand your guys. It's still very, very strong. So yeah, we do get them a draw, but we do remove it. And not a lot of decks have the ability to recycle their items back into their hand. So it's still very good. I just look at the way she looks at you folks. They knew what they were doing when they drew her eyes like that. They knew when they were drawing her in this stance. They 100% knew they were going for the furry audience. Alright, well, besides that, we're going to have Miss Johnson. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, face down and exert. So again, we've now seen another card that utilizes by the fact that we want to be playing Floodborn characters. Again, Floodborn has this black border right now, and there aren't too many Floodborn characters we've really seen. The 𝐂𝐿 DeVille, Basil, Cogsworth, Gaston. So again, we're seeing a slight amount of Floodborn characters, but not really a lot. But again, this just does what Mickey Mouse Detective does. It's just that when you play a Floodborn character, you get to put the top card of your inkwell, top card of your deck into your inkwell. I 100% believe that Sapphire sooner or later will get some card that allows it to look through its inkwell and then pick a card from it and add it to their hand. I 100% believe we are going to get a card. I have to expect it's going to be in Sapphire because of Sapphire's ability to take the top cards of its deck and putting it into its inkwell. That it's going to allow us to get cards from our inkwell and use those cards. Now, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some trade-off or something like that, but I could definitely see like a set 4, 5, heck, even further down the line where we get cards that can allow us to take cards from our inkwell, heck, even play them on the board. Again, that's probably more complexity. I know for a fact, as of the time of this recording, we've gotten some reveals for the set 3 that's going to play like locations, like we're really getting into Pokemons, like stadiums and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, another way to ramp cards, but a little harder of a way because you'll need to make sure you're only playing, you got to have a good chunk of Floodborns in your deck. Even if you play 4, 8, and 12, and then like 16 here, that's not a lot of characters out of Sapphire. So I still think for ramping wise, you're still going to play Mickey Mouse Detective. Like I said, if future sets flesh out even more Floodborn characters, then I think these cards that state that when you play a Floodborn character, do something, will get a lot better. Anyways, Nick, wow, when you play this character, you may return an item named Popsicle from your discard to your hand. So like I said, you play Popsicle on your first turn because it's a 1-cost here. Then you'll sack it off with Firm Faversham or even Judy Hopps to draw a card or draw 2 cards. And then Nick Wild just brings it back to your hand. You play it again for 1. And oh, look at that. I get to draw another card. Like I said, it's a very, very strong cycle of draw engine. A very, very strong cycle of drawing. Anyways, we have Neo. While you have an item in play, this character gains Resist 1 and Ward. So in essence, that's really it. I mean, Sapphire doesn't have a lot of items, but again, you're probably going to have this Popsicle a lot of times in play just because of the way it works, kind of waiting until you hit Theorem so that you can sack it and draw 2. We have a generic Owl here at 2/2. We got Prince Charming. He's a 4 that quests for 3. So again, we're kind of seeing that little bit of that power creep where typically we saw 4s questing for 2. By the way, Judy Hopps quests for 2 as well. So we're kind of seeing Sapphire has a lot of 2 to 3 quester guys at around like 3 to 4 ink, which is, in my opinion, that's a little high. It should probably, I think 3 lore should really only be on bodies of like 5 and up. I don't think they need to be on bodies at 4 and lower, but it's just power creep. That just speeds up the game. I don't know if Ravensburger wants the games to be going fast, and that's why Floodborn has produced so many cards that go quickly gain a lot of lore. I don't know. I would feel like they wouldn't want to build a set where literally the game can quickly get out of hand unless you're playing a specific strategy that can slow down your opponent's lore gain. And we have seen it. Ruby does have the ability, but the problem is Ruby is slow to build up that ability to remove lore. Where other decks, we're seeing more and more aggression style like cards here that quest for a good high amount of lore for basically pretty cheaply into the game. So I don't know. Maybe set 3 will slow it all down. Maybe set 3 will find us a way to kind of give the game a little bit of a slow down. Not that I'm against quick games or anything like that. I just kind of want the game to slow down just a slightly bit more. Yeah, I just kind of want that, you know? Anyways, we have a generic rabbit here. 5 cost, quest for 2, 4, 6. We got some Winnie the Pooh characters. We didn't get a lot of Winnie the Pooh. I think Amethyst really only got like Pooh. I think Amber got Piglet. We got Rabbit here. So we're still missing Kanga and Roo. We already got Tiggers. Tiggers are both in the Ruby. We're both in Ruby. We're missing Kanga. We're missing Roo. We are missing Eeyore as well. We have Christopher Robin. He is in the amber color as well. We could get Heffalump. I know there was that movie about the Heffalump. So, I mean, I really want to play just a Winnie the Pooh deck. But unfortunately, we just don't have enough cards to really facilitate a Winnie the Pooh strategy. And they're kind of split over too many colors. Again, there is cards in Ruby, Amber, and Sapphire. Well, we can't. There's nothing ruling just yet where I can play 3 colors in a deck. It's 2 colors. So we need some more Winnie the Pooh characters to come out before I can really say, oh man, now we can play a Winnie the Pooh deck. I really would love to play Winnie the Pooh deck. I grew up with Winnie the Pooh. Probably one of my favorite characters. Eeyore is still one of my favorite, but I do kind of enjoy Kanga and Roo, or Kanga. Take that with whatever grain of salt you want to take that with. But yeah, Winnie the Pooh, I grew up with it. Fun fact about me, when I was growing up, my father actually drew Winnie the Pooh on the walls of the apartment where after I was born, and then the house I've lived in the most of my adult life, of course, where I am today in an apartment. I had Winnie the Pooh drawn on the walls too when I was growing up. So, Winnie the Pooh is still one of my favorite classics. Like I said, Eeyore is still one of my favorite characters. I got a couple of Eeyore plushes in my collection of plushes. All right, so Sisu, I don't know. I didn't watch the Last Dragon movie. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may put one in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. I don't know why they just didn't say. Put the other one in the bottom of your deck. Anyways, this is just the a questing version of Develop Your Brain, which I think is really cool. So in essence, it's Cauldron. But Cauldron kind of just puts it's Cauldron on a questing body. It's Develop Your Brain on a questing body. So it's really nice. Again, it's got a 2/4, so it does have some survivability, but it's really nice because it does allow you to put a top card of your deck into your hand. So again, just more card advantage on a 4-body is not bad. Again, Develop Your Brain doing it. We have Gaston doing it. We have this doing it. I think Gaston's on the lower end. I'd rather have Develop Your Brain and this card doing it for me. And I mean, you could play a Amethyst Engine and play like Cauldron so that you can even cycle more cards off the top of your deck and see what they are. Nonetheless, really cool. The Knock, I don't know. I think this is from the second Frozen movie. I didn't watch that one either. It's got word. Winnie the Pooh! I'm not going to sing the song, folks. That's probably copyrighted, and I really don't want a copyright strike. Honey Paw, whenever this character quests, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell face down. So this puts any card from your hand into your inkwell. This is just Fishbone, but on a body. So where Fishbone, you would tap in and put a card into your inkwell. Now you can quest for 2, gain 2 lore, gain some advantage for it, and then put a card into your inkwell face down. Also, by the way, that doesn't say exerted. So this puts it in on exerted, folks. I think Fishbone, give me 1 minute, I know we can go down to it. I think Fishbone says it has to come in exerted. No, okay, so Fishbone doesn't even say exerted either. So Fishbone and Winnie the Pooh basically just say, put a card in there. Okay, it's unexerted. You can do whatever you want with it. So in essence, if you have like Develop Your Brain, and you need to go Develop Your Brain to look at top 2 cards, draw 1, add 1 to your hand, put 1 on the bottom. Again, this is why we have to have Sapphire have this hand advantage ability of Nick Wilde, Popsicle, and Herm Flabbershim. Because then you'll have so many cards in your hand, so you can utilize like Winnie the Pooh to put cards into your inkwell and continue to quickly ramp your deck. Again, Sapphire is evolving this engine of ramping up your cards very, very quick. So, still, really enjoy. So anyways, we have Falling Down the Rabbit Hole. This in essence is just the same thing as Let It Go, just 1 cheaper, but it does affect you as well. So each player chooses one of their characters and puts them into their inkwell face down and exerted. So this is really, really good. Again, it's a 1 cheaper Let It Go, but it does affect you as well. But again, for a lot of cards that like have high damage that you can't heal, or cards that you know for a fact are going to get removed, or anything or any way that cards you kind of just want off the board. Heck, even shift cards that can then put 2 cards into your inkwell exerted. So I think there's a lot of chance of kind of figure out what cards you want to put into your inkwell, but I would say like a lot of those cards are guys that you have high damage on that you don't have a way to heal. And then you could just stick it in your inkwell. You have it for later. Heck, even like your shift guys, put them into your inkwell, and then you get just 2 cards for free. And yeah, your opponent puts 1 away. And again, it's not inkable, but it's just Let It Go for yourself and your opponent at 1 cheaper cost. So anyways, we have 4 dozen eggs. Again, it's a song. You can play it for 4 or sing it for 4. Whenever this character, one in hurricanes resist +2. So in essence, they resist the next 2 damage that comes in. Again, Cogsworth would then on if he was up and giving his ability to everyone, would be giving a resist 3 to someone. We have launch. Banish chosen item of yours to deal 5 damage to chosen character. It's okay. I don't think you're really going to be using this card much, but I mean, if you were playing like a control deck, like maybe Steel or something, Steel Sapphire, then that's probably not bad. Nothing to hide. Each opponent reveals their hand and then draws a card, so I'm not sold on this card. I would say if you're going to play it like at a few copies. It really only like good maybe if you really want to figure out what your opponent's playing, like their strategy. But most of the time, once you kind of know the 2 colors your opponent's playing, most of the time you can kind of figure it out. Again, we really don't have like hand control, like I'm going to snipe that card out of your hand. I'm going to snipe that card out of your hand, or I want you to remove that card from your hand. Yeah, it gives you hand knowledge, but you can't write it down because that's illegal. I suppose it's going to follow the same mechanic that like other card games do, where you can't write down what's in your opponent's hand. Maybe you were just playing like casually and your opponents didn't really care, then yeah, you could probably do that. But competitively, you couldn't write down what your opponent had in your hand. But yeah, it gives you a draw a card as well, and I do like that we're seeing so many actions now that do this action and then draw a card, which I think is really, really cool. And it's actually very nice too, because it, in essence, just means that we can claim more cards to our hand. It also refills our hand, so basically we're going +0 for activating these actions. I'm not sold on it. I think it's so niche until we get cards that really can like snipe cards out of our opponent, specific cards out of our opponent's hand. Then yeah, it's not really good right now, but I could definitely see maybe down in the future ways to like snipe specific cards out of your opponent's hand that you want out of their hand. So then you want to know their hand knowledge. So you go nothing to hide, look at their hand, okay, and say, okay, well, the strategy definitely needs to remove that, and then go down that line. But we just don't have those cards yet, and we really don't have a great strategy to really use this. This kind of just lets me look at my opponent's hand and say, okay, that's great. Congratulations. But most of the time, once you know the 2 colors your opponent's playing, typically you know what deck your opponent's playing or what kind of strategy they've brewed up. Fang Crossbow. You can tap it, pay 2, and chosen character gets -2 for the turn. Again, Sapphire, we've seen it before. They like to neg power and stay back, banish this item, banish chosen dragon character. That's very situational because we're not really seeing a lot of dragon characters. Maybe Maleficent. I think Susu, yeah, it's dragon, but there's just not a lot of dragons to really make that last effect really pointful. So I don't really see a lot of people playing it. Maybe if there was like a dragon tribal deck running around in the format, this card can become more prevalent. Anyways, we got the Gumbo Pop. Tap it, remove 1 damage from each from up to 2 chosen characters. Again, just another card to facilitate the entirety of the Amber engine, facilitate the entirety of removing damage and just gaining lore, drawing cards, just damage everywhere. Sapphire Amber just getting more power to just play around a heal strategy and just bonusing off of it. Alright, we have Maurice's Workshop. Whenever you play another item, you may pay 1 to draw a card. So in essence, you're playing like an item-heavy deck. This allows you just to draw a card. I mean, it's not bad. I haven't seen a lot of decks play this, but not bad if you're like playing an item-heavy deck. And Sapphire has a lot of very good items. Especially they have the, where is he? Tomato, who likes to gain +1 lore for every item in play. And he does cycle back your items as well. Just a thought there. Popsicle. Whoo, man, the new, very extremely powerful Sapphire draw engine. So, when you play this item, you may draw a card. Banish this item, remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. Now, you're not going to do that. Typically, you're just going to play it out for the 1. On the turn 4, then you sack it with Harem, Flabbersham, or you can sack it with Judy Hopps as well to draw 1. But typically, you want to sack it off with Harem, Flabbersham. I'm still probably saying that name completely wrong. And then you draw 2 cards off of it. Then you go Nick Wild, cycle it back, and then play it again. There are, like I said, other cards that can cycle this back to your hand as well. So again, you just get a strong strategy of just draw 1, draw 2, bring back. So it's just a very good draw engine. Very good. And finally, we have Sardine Can. Your exerted character gains wards. So in essence, all your exerted characters just have the ability to be warded, so they can't be targeted by effects, which I think is okay. Doesn't mean that they still can't be challenged. But if you have like Cogsworth up, where everything can get resist, it's still very good. Good. Now, again, I will say if you're going to play like a Cogsworth resist deck, go to the Steel Engine and play all their resist cards. Then you can make a very annoying like resist, well, you can't challenge me deck, and I'm just going to punch everything out of existence because I have resist everything. But anyways, yeah, not bad. Also, this is from the Rescuers, the two little mice who went off to a bayou and rescued a little girl. So yeah, it's cool that we're getting a card that references. I think this is the first card that references the Rescuers. I don't remember set 1 referencing Rescuers. So it's really cool to see them referencing a lot of classic Disney. I think that's what just makes Ravensburger so good with this deck, or this game, I guess I should say, is because they reference so many different Disney movies. But yeah, overall, Sapphire has an amazing draw engine. They have more great ways to just gain lore out of the middle of or gain ink out of the middle of nowhere with their ramping. They have a lot of good questers in here that quest for 2 and 3 lore at very small bodies, low cost bodies, 4s, 3s. I mean, it's all good. They have the ability to gain everything, giving everything resist. Again, if you're going to go that type of engine, I would go into, of course, the Steel Engine, where you can get even more resist on the board. But yeah, they have just great ways to draw cards, great ways to ramp, and great ways to like scry your deck. So you can add cards to your hand and get cards you need to your hand. So overall, Sapphire is just amazing. It's just a great color. Again, a lot of decks I've already seen have already used this popsicle engine to great effect on me, and it is annoying to try to play against. Annoying. But let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Sapphire. What do you think about all the cards that came out of it? What do you think about the new popsicle draw engine I mentioned? And everything else under the moon about the Sapphire color from Rise of the Floodborn. Also, let me know some decks that you've experimented with the Sapphire color as well. Do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragons TCG.